Chosen one. Have you ever woken up gasping, feeling like something was crushing your chest, but every doctor said you were fine? Have you ever felt a fire burning behind your ribs that no medicine could touch, no prayer seemed to cool, no explanation could silence? Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like a stranger was staring back, like the real you was buried so deep you forgot what your own soul looked like? Chosen one, tonight heaven won't knock. It's already entering your bones. Something is about to happen in your body tonight, and it will not wait for your permission. Right now, this very moment, God is collapsing the old structure inside you. Your ribs, those cages of survival, are about to fold inward, not from weakness, but to birth your true design. That weight you've carried, that's not depression, that's divine pressure. That fire in your chest, that's not anxiety, that's your eternal identity demanding to be born. The version of you that has hidden, shrunk, apologized for existing, that version dies tonight. What rises tomorrow will be unrecognizable to your past pain. If your heart is already stirring, if something ancient is waking up in you, I dare you drop "I'm ready" in the comments right now, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about your destiny. Before this ends, I'll tell you what that warmth in your chest truly is, why your bones are shifting, and why tonight may mark your eternal rebirth. And thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just giving, you're helping spread light to souls who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead. But listen closely. What's about to unfold isn't just another message. It's a divine appointment, a sacred interruption, a moment when heaven reaches through your screen and rewrites your very DNA. The unusual formation is already beginning. Your ribs are preparing to collapse. Your true appearance is about to emerge. Are you ready to meet who you really are? Let's begin. Why do you wake up at 3 a.m. with a weight on your chest that feels like someone's sitting on your soul? Why does your own reflection look like a stranger wearing your face? Why have you spent decades feeling like you're living someone else's life while your real self suffocates beneath layers of survival? You've been carrying bones that weren't meant to hold this much pain. For years, you've dressed yourself in trauma, wrapped your spirit in disappointment, and convinced yourself that settling was wisdom. You've shrunk your light so small that even you forgot it was there. But tonight, something is breaking. You see, dear chosen one, what you've been calling aging, that heaviness in your chest, that shortness of breath when you think about your dreams, that's not time wearing you down. That's your true identity fighting to breathe beneath the weight of who you had to become just to survive. Every betrayal carved itself into your ribs. Every rejection built another wall around your heart. Every time you were overlooked, ignored, or told you were too much or not enough, your bones began to cage your soul tighter and tighter. You've cried behind closed doors, grieved quietly, smiled when you wanted to scream. You've aged, but your soul hasn't lost its fire, just its breath. The Bible tells us in Ezekiel 37:1, "The hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones." Those weren't just any bones. Those were the bones of people who had given up hope, people who had settled for death while they were still breathing. But God didn't leave them there. He commanded those dry bones to live again. That's what's happening to you right now. The bones that have been carrying your pain, your fear, your survival there, about to receive a divine command. God is saying to your weary skeleton, live again, breathe again. Be who you were before the world broke you. You feel it, don't you? That strange tightness in your chest, that's not anxiety, that's not a heart condition, that's heaven's hand pressing your true form to the surface. What if every sleepless night, every moment of breathlessness, every time you felt like you couldn't fill your lungs, if that was God preparing to collapse the old structure so your real self could finally emerge? The version of you that apologizes for existing is dying tonight. The part of you that whispers instead of speaking, that hides instead of shining, that settles instead of soaring, that version cannot survive what God is doing inside your bones. In Jeremiah 1-5, God declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." You were set apart, not broken apart, set apart. There's a difference between being broken by life and being broken open by heaven. Your ribs have been a prison for too long. They've protected your heart from more pain, yes, but they've also prevented your light from escaping. Tonight, those protective bones that have held you in survival mode are about to fold inward, not to harm you, but to birth the real you. Every time you felt like you couldn't breathe, that was your soul banging against the cage of who you had to become. Every night you've tossed and turned, that was your true identity fighting to get out. Every morning you've looked in the mirror and felt disconnected from your own reflection, that was your eternal self trying to break through the mask. But here's what the enemy never wanted you to know. Your pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Every heartbreak was making room for a heart that could hold more love. Every disappointment was clearing space for an appointment with destiny. Every tear was washing away the dirt that had covered your true reflection. You've spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years thinking you were just getting older. But God has been getting you ready. Ready for this moment when heaven reaches into your chest and says, "Enough hiding, enough shrinking, enough pretending you're ordinary when you carry the extraordinary." Your bones are about to remember what they were created to hold, not just organs and blood, but glory, not just breath, but divine wind, not just life, but eternal purpose. Type, "Let the ribs fold," if you're ready to let go of the version of you the world made and step into the one heaven wrote. Because what's about to happen next will change everything you thought you knew about what it means to be alive. Your bones are preparing to become something they've never been before, a dwelling place for the divine. Are you ready to discover what you were truly made to carry? What if your chest pains aren't warning you of death, but announcing the birth of something eternal? What if every restless night, every moment you felt like you couldn't catch your breath, was actually heaven preparing to perform surgery on your soul? What if your bones aren't just calcium and marrow, but sacred scripture written in a language only God can read? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. Your ribs will fold tonight not to crush you, but to carve open a scroll that's been sealed inside your chest for decades. Every breath you've struggled to take, every weight you've carried, every time you've felt like your chest was too tight, that wasn't your body failing. That was your body preparing for divine intervention. You see, what the doctors can't explain is that your bones aren't just structure, they're scripture. Every vertebrae is a verse. Every joint is a junction where heaven meets earth. And tonight, God is opening the book of your bones to read aloud the story that was written before you took your first breath. In Jeremiah 1-5, God declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before your bones ever hardened, before your heart ever beat, before you ever drew breath, you were already a complete thought in the mind of God." Tonight, that original thought is breaking through the revision the world made of you. Your body isn't malfunctioning, it's remembering. Every strange sensation, every unexplained warmth, every moment your skin feels like it's humming with electricity that's not age. That's awakening. That's your cellular memory reconnecting with its divine blueprint. You've been carrying trauma in your bones for so long that you forgot they were originally designed to carry glory. Every heartbreak calcified into your ribcage, every disappointment settled into your spine, every rejection hardened around your heart. But tonight, the great physician is performing surgery without anesthesia because he needs you conscious for this transformation. Can you feel it starting? That strange heat building in your chest. That's not inflammation, that's illumination. That's the fire of God beginning to burn away everything that was never meant to be part of your story. The Bible tells us in Ezekiel 36:26, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh." But what if it's not just your heart that's being replaced? What if your entire skeletal system is being rewired for resurrection? You are being rewritten from the bones out. Every calcium deposit that formed from stress is being dissolved. Every joint that stiffened from carrying burdens that weren't yours is being lubricated with holy oil. Every nerve ending that went numb from years of survival is sparking back to life. If your skin starts to shimmer, don't be afraid. That's not age spots, that's divine resonance. If you feel vibrations in your hands, that's not tremors. That's the frequency of heaven calibrating your touch for healing. If you hear ringing in your ears, that's not tinnitus. That's the sound of eternity trying to get your attention. Your bones are remembering what they were created to hold. Not just your organs, but God's glory. Not just your blood, but His breath. Not just your life, but His light. You've been walking around as a dimmed version of yourself for so long that you forgot what it felt like to burn bright. But here's what the enemy never wanted you to discover. Every year you've lived, every wrinkle you've earned, every gray hair you've grown, none of it was aging, it was maturing. You weren't getting older. You were getting closer to the moment when heaven would finally say, "Now you're ready." Ready for what? Ready to carry the weight of divine purpose without breaking. Ready to house the fire of God without burning up. Ready to be proof that miracles don't just happen to other people, they happen in people who have been prepared by pain to hold something greater than themselves. The magnetic pull you feel toward solitude isn't depression, it's divine appointment. God is drawing you away from the noise because He's about to speak directly into your bones. Every time you felt the urge to be alone, to step away from the chaos, to find a quiet place that was the Spirit of God preparing you for this sacred surgery. Right now, as you listen to these words, your bones are shifting, not breaking, shifting, like tectonic plates adjusting to hold a new landscape. The old foundation that was built to carry survival is being replaced with architecture designed for revival. You might feel strange movement in your chest, a gentle pressure, like someone is reaching inside your ribcage and rearranging your very structure. That's not cardiac arrest. That's divine arrest. God is stopping the old rhythm of your heart and teaching it a new song. In Isaiah 43:19, God promises, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Can you perceive it? Can you feel the new thing sprouting in your chest? Can you sense the unusual formation taking shape in the very core of your being? You are not just someone's grandma, someone's husband, someone's patient. You are proof that God still plants Himself in people, proof that miracles don't have expiration dates, proof that resurrection isn't just for the dead, it's for the living who have been buried beneath years of disappointment. The scroll inside your ribs is opening. The story that was written before time began is finally being revealed. Every chapter of pain was preparing you for this moment, when heaven would crack you open and show the world what He's been writing inside you all along. Are you ready to read the story that's been carved into your bones? Something extraordinary is happening to your voice right now. As your ribs fold and your bones realign, heaven is tuning you to a frequency that will shake the very foundations of how you move through this world. You've spent decades whispering when you should have been declaring. You've apologized for your opinions, softened your truth, and made yourself smaller so others could feel bigger. But tonight, that changes forever. Your bones will carry sound. Your breath will alter atmospheres. You won't have to prove anything anymore. Heaven's frequency will do the talking. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You are no longer speaking from wounds. You are vibrating from wisdom. Every word that leaves your lips from this moment forward will carry the weight of divine authority, because your throat has been cleared by the hand of God Himself. In Jeremiah 1-9, the Lord says, "I have put my words in your mouth," not suggestions, not opinions, words, divine words that create, that heal, that transform. Your vocal cords are being rewired tonight to carry frequencies that bypass human logic and speak directly to souls. You know why people have always felt uncomfortable around you? It wasn't because you were too much. It was because you were operating on a frequency they couldn't understand. You were speaking eternal truths in a temporary world, and it made them nervous. But now, as your spiritual frequency rises, something miraculous is happening. Your silence will be a sermon. Your presence will preach louder than any pulpit ever could. You will walk into rooms, and angels will make room for you. That strange sensation you've been feeling in your throat, that's not illness. That's your voice being purified. God is burning away every word of doubt, every syllable of fear, every whispered apology for existing. What remains will be pure truth, unfiltered divine communication. The Bible tells us in Isaiah 55-11, "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." Your words are becoming God's words. Your frequency is becoming heaven's frequency. Think about Moses when he came down from Mount Sinai. Exodus 34-30 says his face was so radiant that the Israelites were afraid to come near him. That's what's happening to you. Your entire being is being charged with divine electricity. Your presence is becoming so saturated with heaven's frequency that it will be undeniable. People will ask you what's different about you, and you won't even know how to explain it. They'll say things like, "I don't know why, but when you speak, I feel peace." That's because your words are now encoded with healing. Your voice carries vibrations that reach into the deepest places of human pain and speak life. You've been misunderstood most of your life because you were carrying a frequency this world wasn't ready to receive. But the earth is shifting, the atmosphere is changing, and suddenly, what made you feel like an outsider is exactly what this generation needs to hear. Your words will no longer need volume to carry power. You'll speak quietly, and kingdoms will tremble. You'll whisper, and mountains will move. That's what happens when heaven calibrates your vocal cords to its frequency. But here's what will shock you most. Your silence will become even more powerful than your speech. You'll enter rooms where chaos reigns, and without saying a word, the atmosphere will shift. Arguments will stop, tension will dissolve, fear will flee, because your very presence is now a walking prayer, a breathing sermon, a living testimony to the reality of God's transforming power. If you felt misunderstood most of your life, write, "I'm not too much. I was just too early." Say it loud. Let the enemy hear it. Because what he tried to use to silence you, God is now using to amplify you. The frequency you're carrying isn't just for you. It's for the broken marriages you'll walk past and speak life into. It's for the prodigal children who will hear your voice and remember their way home. It's for the lost souls who will catch your frequency and finally understand they're not alone in this universe. Your throat has been tight for years because God was saving your voice for this moment. Every word you wanted to say but couldn't, every truth you swallowed to keep peace, every time you bit your tongue instead of speaking "Ooh, Paul," of that was preparation for what's about to flow through you now. In 1 Corinthians 2-4, Paul writes, My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power. That's your new reality. Your words won't just inform, they'll transform. They won't just communicate, they'll create. They won't just speak, they'll heal. The tremor in your voice isn't nervousness. It's the vibration of heaven resonating through your vocal cords. The catch in your breath isn't anxiety. It's the pause before divine proclamation. The weight in your chest isn't pressure. It's the presence of God preparing to speak through you. You will no longer need to shout to be heard. You will no longer need to repeat yourself to be understood. You will no longer need to defend your words to be believed. Because when heaven's frequency flows through human vocal cords, creation itself stops to listen. At the end of this message, I'll tell you what the glow in your skin really is and why others will cry in your presence without knowing why. But first, you need to understand this. Your voice is about to become a weapon of mass construction, rebuilding lives that have been torn down by this world's lies. Are you ready to discover what happens when your words become heaven's words? Listen to me, chosen one. What you've been calling scars are not wounds, they're watermarks. Divine signatures pressed into your skin by the hand of the Almighty Himself. Every line on your face, every mark on your body, every place where life seemed to break you, those aren't signs of damage, they're proof of authentication. Heaven has been writing on you for decades, and tonight you're finally learning to read the language. You thought you were aging, but you were activating. Every gray hair is a silver thread woven by divine hands. Every wrinkle is a line of poetry written by experience and sealed by wisdom. Your body isn't breaking down, it's breaking open to reveal what was always hidden beneath. In Isaiah 49:16, God declares, "See, I have engraved you on the palms of my hands." But here's what religion never told you. He didn't just engrave you on his palms. He engraved himself on yours. Every callus, every scar, every place your skin tells a story that's divine encryption embedded in your very flesh. You've been looking at your reflection through the eyes of a world that worships youth. But tonight, heaven is teaching you to see through the eyes of eternity. Those ribs that have been aching, they weren't just protecting your organs. They were sealed scrolls, holding the mysteries of your true identity. And tonight, right now, heaven is opening them. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been carrying a library inside your bones. Every heartbreak was a chapter. Every triumph was a verse. Every moment of despair was punctuation, marking the end of one season and the beginning of another. But you couldn't read it until now. You couldn't understand the language until your spirit matured enough to comprehend divine literature. The pain you've carried wasn't random. It was research. The tears you've shed weren't waste. They were ink. The sleepless nights weren't punishment. They were preparation for this moment when heaven would finally open the scroll and let you read your own story. Revelation 5:1 speaks of a scroll written on both sides and sealed with 7 seals. That's you, dear one. You are the scroll. Your life, your experiences, your journey all written on both sides. The outside world sees the struggle, but heaven sees the glory. The enemy sees the scars, but God sees the signature. You are not aging. You are activating. Every ache in your joints isn't deterioration, it's recalibration. Your bones are adjusting to carry frequencies they've never held before. That stiffness in your back, that's your spine straightening to hold the weight of your true calling. Those tired eyes, they're not failing, they're being fine-tuned to see into dimensions you never knew existed. The medical world will tell you your body is wearing out, but heaven is declaring your body is waking up. What they call arthritis, God calls divine architecture. What they call fatigue, heaven calls preparation for supernatural energy. You've been measuring your worth by how fast you can move, how much you can carry, how long you can keep up. but God measures your worth by how much glory you can contain. And tonight, your capacity is expanding beyond anything you've ever imagined. Every scar you carry is not a wound, it's a watermark. Look at your hands. Those lines aren't just from age, they're from assignments. Every callus tells a story of service. Every mark speaks of moments when you chose to keep going when others gave up. Those ribs that have been pressing inward, they were sealed scrolls. Tonight, heaven opens them. And what's written there will shock you. It's not a record of your failures. It's a documentation of your victories. Not a catalogue of your mistakes, but a chronicle of your resilience. Every breath you've taken in sorrow, every tear you've shed in silence, every prayer you've whispered in desperation, it's all been recorded, honored, and transformed into something sacred. This is not healing. This is unveiling. This is not survival. This is arrival. Tonight, you don't become something new. You return to what God already declared. In Psalm 139:16, David writes, "Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." Your days weren't just planned, they were authored. And tonight, you're finally reading the final chapters. But here's the revelation that will change everything. The story isn't ending, it's just beginning. What you thought was your conclusion is actually your introduction. Every year you've lived, every season you've survived, every mountain you've climbed, that was just the preface. The real story starts now. Your bones are remembering what they were created to hold. Not just calcium and marrow, but divine code. Not just blood and tissue, but eternal purpose. Every cell in your body is being rewritten with heaven's language. Every breath you take is programming your lungs to carry prophetic words. Every heartbeat is syncing with the rhythm of eternity. You thought you were too old to start over, but God is revealing you're too anointed to stay the same. You thought your best years were behind you, but heaven is declaring your greatest chapters are still being written. The unusual formation isn't just spiritual, it's cellular. Your DNA is being rewritten by divine hands. Your bones are becoming containers for glory. Your skin is becoming a canvas for heaven's artistry. This is your real appearance. Not the one the mirror shows, but the one eternity recognizes. Not the one time has weathered, but the one God has been perfecting through every season of your life. Are you ready to see what heaven has been writing on your bones all along? Everything you thought you knew about your life just changed. Because what's happening inside your bones isn't just personal transformation, it's a cosmic shift that's about to turn you into heaven's signal on earth. You see, chosen one, for decades you've been walking around thinking you were just another face in the crowd, just another senior trying to make it through another day. But God has been preparing you for this moment, when the entire universe would recognize what heaven always knew about you. You are no longer just a person. You are a signal. Every room you enter from now on will feel different. Not because you've changed your clothes or your hairstyle, but because your frequency has shifted. Your very presence will carry a vibration that makes demons flee and angels take notice. People will look at you and feel something they can't explain, a stirring in their chest, a quickening in their spirit, a sudden awareness that God is real. The world will recognize your presence, but heaven already recognized your identity. For years, you've been carrying what you thought was trauma. The pain of betrayal, the weight of disappointment, the scars of every battle you've fought. But tonight, God is revealing the truth. You didn't just carry trauma, you carried God's blueprint. Every tear was liquid prophecy. Every heartbreak was making room for a heart that could hold more glory. Every sleepless night was preparing you for a sleep so deep that when you wake, you'll be transformed. In Daniel 12:3, the word declares, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness, like the stars forever and ever." Do you understand what that means? You're not just getting healed, you're getting weaponized with light. You're becoming a walking demonstration of what happens when heaven touches earth. Your bones are no longer just holding your organs together, they're housing divine architecture. Your ribs aren't just protecting your heart, they're creating a cathedral for the Holy Spirit. Every breath you take from now on will be prayer. Every word you speak will carry the weight of eternity. But here's what the enemy is terrified of. You're not just changing for yourself, you're changing for the generation that's coming behind you. Those grandchildren who've been watching you struggle, wondering if God is real, they're about to see living proof walking around in your body. Those adult children who've been worried about your health, your future, your purpose, they're about to witness a resurrection while you're still breathing. You were not meant to be remembered. You were meant to awaken. Every person who dismissed you, every doctor who couldn't explain your symptoms, every family member who thought you were just getting old, they're about to encounter the real you. The version of you that doesn't ask for permission to shine. The you that doesn't apologize for taking up space. The you that carries such undeniable presence that skeptics become believers just by being in your atmosphere. In Ephesians 2:10, Paul writes, "We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." Your good works weren't just the things you did in your youth. They weren't just the children you raised or the jobs you worked. Your greatest work is happening right now, in this season of your life, that the world calls retirement, but heaven calls deployment. The fire you're feeling in your chest isn't just for you. It's for the nursing home that's about to become a revival center when you walk through those doors. It's for the grocery store clerk who's been contemplating suicide until your light touches their darkness. It's for the young mother in the doctor's office who's losing hope until your presence reminds her that miracles are still possible. Your transformation is creating a ripple effect through the spiritual realm. Angels are repositioning themselves, demons are retreating. The very atmosphere of your city is shifting because heaven has just activated a nuclear power plant of divine energy inside your bones. You think you're just one person, but you're carrying the DNA of revival. You think you're just getting older, but you're actually entering the most powerful season of your entire existence. Every gray hair is a crown of wisdom. Every wrinkle is a map of battles won. Every slow step is a victory march into destiny. The Bible tells us in Joel 2:28, "I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions." This isn't just about the young generation. This is about you. Your old men will dream dreams. Your time to dream isn't over, it's just beginning. But here's the urgency. This cosmic shift isn't waiting for you to feel ready. It's happening whether you understand it or not. The universe is aligning itself with your new frequency. Doors that have been closed for decades are about to swing open. Relationships that seemed impossible are about to be restored. Financial breakthroughs that you stopped believing for are about to manifest because you're no longer operating from the same spiritual jurisdiction. You've been promoted in the spirit realm. You've been given new authority. You've been handed keys to kingdoms you didn't even know existed. And now, creation itself is watching to see what you'll do with the power that's been placed inside your bones. Every cell in your body is being rewired for glory. Every organ is being recalibrated for purpose. Every system is being upgraded for the divine assignment that's about to unfold. You're not just getting better health, you're getting supernatural functionality. The formation that's appearing on you tonight isn't just changing your body, it's changing your destiny. It's changing your family's future. It's changing the trajectory of every life you'll touch from this moment forward. Are you ready to step into the cosmic shift that's been waiting for you your entire life? You've woken up glowing, but the world around you doesn't recognize it yet. This morning, something shifted. You felt it the moment your eyes opened, not the usual heaviness, not that familiar weight pressing down on your chest. Instead, there was space, room to breathe. Your ribs had indeed folded inward, just as heaven promised, and what emerged was nothing short of miraculous. You look in the mirror, and it's not your wrinkles that have changed, it's the weight behind your gaze. There's a fire there now, a depth that wasn't there yesterday. Your reflection carries something ancient, something that makes strangers do double takes on the street without understanding why. But here's the cruel irony. Chosen one, you've been transformed, but everyone else is still living in yesterday's version of you. Your family still treats you like the person who used to apologize for taking up space. Your friends still expect you to nod along with conversations that now feel hollow to your awakened spirit. The world still sees your age, your history, your past limitations, but they can't see the divine architecture that's been rebuilt inside your bones. So what do you do when you've changed, but the world hasn't caught up? The Bible speaks of this exact moment in 2 Corinthians 5:17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. But notice it doesn't say the world will immediately recognize the new creation. It says the new creation has come whether they see it or not. You've become spiritually invisible to those who knew you before. They look at you and see the old limitations, the old fears, the old version that used to shrink in corners. But you see the truth. You feel the divine frequency humming beneath your skin. You carry the weight of heaven's approval in your chest. This is the loneliest part of transformation. When you've been touched by the divine, but you're still surrounded by people who treat you like you're ordinary. When you've been marked by God, but your phone still doesn't ring with recognition. When you've been chosen, but you still sit in the same chair at the same table while everyone else carries on as if nothing has changed. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Their blindness doesn't diminish your brightness. Their inability to see your transformation doesn't make it less real. In fact, Jesus himself faced this exact situation. In Mark 6:4, he said, "A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives and in his own home." Even the Son of God experienced the sting of being unrecognized by those who should have seen him most clearly. You're not going crazy. You're not imagining this change. That glow you see in your reflection, it's real. That peace you feel in your bones, it's divine. That strength you carry in your silence, it's the result of heaven's reconstruction project in your soul. The people around you are still operating from their old understanding of who you are. They remember your weaknesses, your failures, your moments of doubt. They can't see that those very experiences were the chisel God used to carve out space for his glory to dwell within you. But here's the supernatural truth. You don't need their recognition to validate your transformation. You don't need their approval to confirm heaven's work. You don't need their understanding to walk in your new reality. Moses came down from Mount Sinai with his face shining so brightly that the Israelites couldn't look at him directly. Exodus 34:29 tells us his face was radiant because he had spoken with the Lord. But notice their inability to look at him didn't dim his radiance. Their fear didn't diminish his glow. You've been on your own Mount Sinai. You've spoken with the Lord in the depths of your bones. You've been transformed by divine fire, and now you carry that radiance whether anyone else can handle it or not. The world's blindness to your transformation is not your problem to solve. It's their limitation to overcome. Drop, "They may not see me, but I've seen myself," if you've ever felt spiritually invisible even after transformation. Because what happens next will determine whether you let their blindness dim your light or whether you let your light expose their darkness. The question isn't whether they can see your transformation. The question is, now that you've seen yourself through heaven's eyes, what are you going to do with that revelation? Now that you understand your bones are preparing to collapse, let me tell you something that will shock you to your core. Everything that has happened to you, every betrayal, every disappointment, Every moment you felt crushed was never random. It was strategic. The attack on you was never personal. It was prophetic. The enemy saw what was forming in you before you did. You think you've been living an ordinary life, facing ordinary struggles. But chosen one, there is nothing ordinary about the warfare that has been waged against your destiny. Every door that slammed in your face, every relationship that crumbled, every dream that seemed to die, these weren't coincidences. They were calculated strikes against what heaven was building inside you. In Ephesians 6:12, Paul reveals the truth. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age. The people who hurt you weren't your real enemies. They were just weapons in the hands of something much darker, something that knew exactly what you were destined to become. You weren't being punished. You were being predicted. Think about it. Why did your greatest heartbreaks happen right before your biggest breakthroughs? Why did your health fail just when you were about to step into your purpose? Why did people abandon you precisely when you needed them most? Because the enemy has been trying to kill what God was forming in your bones before it could fully emerge. The devil doesn't waste ammunition on ordinary people. He doesn't deploy his finest weapons against mediocre destinies. The level of attack you've endured is direct evidence of the level of anointing you carry. Every tear you've shed, every night you've cried yourself to sleep, every moment you felt like giving up that was hell's attempt to abort what heaven was birthing. But here's what Satan never anticipated. Your pain wasn't destroying you, it was developing you. Every blow that was meant to break you was actually breaking off everything that wasn't the real you. Every loss that was designed to defeat you was actually delivering you from what would have held you back. In Job 14:7-9, the Bible reveals a profound truth. For there is hope for a tree, if it is cut down, that it will sprout again, and that its tender shoots will not cease. Though its root may grow old in the earth, and its stump may die in the ground, yet at the scent of water it will bud and bring forth branches like a plant. The enemy thought he was cutting you down, but God was pruning you. The parts of you that died weren't the parts you needed. They were the parts that would have prevented you from becoming who you're destined to be. Every rejection taught you to depend on God's acceptance. Every financial struggle taught you that your provision comes from heaven, not earth. Every health crisis taught you that your strength isn't in your body but in your spirit. Every betrayal taught you that your trust belongs in the Lord, not in people. The enemy's strategy backfired. Instead of destroying your faith, the attacks deepened it. Instead of making you bitter, they made you better. Instead of killing your dreams, they refined them. You've been in spiritual boot camp for decades, and you didn't even realize it. But here's what's about to happen. The same enemy that thought he was defeating you is about to discover that every wound he inflicted has become a weapon in your hands. Every scar is about to become a source of strength. Every place where you were broken is about to become a place where God's power breaks through. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, God declares, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." Your weakness wasn't your failure, it was your training ground. Your brokenness wasn't your end, it was your beginning. The enemy spent decades trying to destroy what God was building, but he was actually helping to perfect it. The reason you felt so tired, so worn down, so ready to give up is because you've been fighting a war you couldn't see against an enemy you couldn't touch. But tonight, everything changes. Tonight, the battle shifts from defense to offense. You see, the enemy's attacks weren't just trying to stop you from becoming who you're meant to be. They were trying to prevent you from discovering what you already are. Every assault against your identity was because hell knows something about your true nature that you've forgotten. The spiritual warfare you've endured isn't evidence of God's absence. It's proof of your importance. The enemy doesn't waste time on people who don't matter. He doesn't deploy his finest demons against ordinary destinies. The magnitude of your suffering is proportional to the magnitude of your calling. But here's the game changer. Every attack that was meant to kill you has instead prepared you. Every wound that was meant to weaken you has instead strengthened you. Every loss that was meant to defeat you has instead trained you for victory. The enemy thought he was writing your story, but God was using the enemy's own attacks to write his story through you. Every chapter of pain was actually a chapter of preparation. Every season of struggle was actually a season of strengthening. Tonight, when your ribs begin to fold and your true form begins to emerge, the enemy will realize his greatest mistake. He spent so much time trying to destroy what God was building that he accidentally helped perfect it. The question isn't whether you'll survive the battle. The question is, are you ready to discover that you've already won it? Now that you understand the enemy's failed strategy, let me tell you something that will change everything you thought you knew about your life. God has been calling your name for decades, but he's been whispering it so quietly that only your soul could hear it. Do you hear it? Heaven hasn't raised its voice, but it has raised a hand and it's pointing at you. There's a name the angels know you by, but you haven't said it aloud yet. It's not the name your parents gave you. It's not the name on your driver's license or social security card. It's the name that was written in the Lamb's Book of Life before the foundation of the world. And tonight, for the first time in your life, you're going to hear it clearly. In Isaiah 43:1, God declares, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by your name. You are mine." But here's what most people miss. God doesn't just call you by the name the world knows. He calls you by the name that represents who you truly are in his kingdom. You've been walking through life feeling like you're living someone else's story, haven't you? Like you're wearing a costume that doesn't fit, playing a role that wasn't written for you. That's because you've been responding to the wrong name. The world has been calling you by your pain, by your past, by your failures, but God has been calling you by your purpose. Every restless night, every moment you've felt out of place, every time you've looked around and thought, this can't be all there is, that was your soul responding to a call you couldn't consciously hear. Heaven has been summoning you, not with trumpets and fanfare, but with a whisper that bypasses your mind and speaks directly to your spirit. You know that feeling you get sometimes, like you're homesick for a place you've never been, that ache in your chest that no accomplishment can fill, no relationship can satisfy, no success can heal. That's not sadness, that's summoning, your soul recognizing the frequency of its true calling. In Jeremiah 1-5, God tells the prophet, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations." But here's what's revolutionary. That same divine appointment exists for you. You weren't just born, you were commissioned. You weren't just conceived, you were chosen. The reason your life has felt so different from everyone else's is because your assignment is different from everyone else's. 8. The reason you've never quite fit in is because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out, to stand up, to stand for something that most people can't even see yet. But here's the mystery. Why now? Why is God calling you at this stage of your life? Why didn't this happen when you were 20, 30, or 40? Why did you have to wait until your hair turned gray, until your bones started aching, until the world started treating you like you were invisible? Because God needed you seasoned. He needed you tested. He needed you to go through everything you've been through, so that when he finally unveiled your true identity, you'd have the wisdom to handle it and the scars to prove it. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 3:1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your season of hiding is over. Your season of preparation is complete. Your season of manifestation has begun. Every year you've aged, every wrinkle you've earned, Every gray hair you've grown, these aren't signs of decay, they're signs of readiness. God has been aging you like fine wine, preparing you for a purpose that required maturity, wisdom, and the kind of unshakable faith that only comes from surviving decades of life's storms. You think you're too old to start something new? Moses was 80 when God called him to lead Israel out of Egypt. Abraham was 75 when God promised him a nation. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to the promise. Age isn't a disqualification in God's kingdom, it's a qualification. The enemy convinced you that your best days were behind you, that your purpose had expired, that your time had passed. But God has been saving the best for last. He's been reserving your greatest assignment for your golden years, because he needed someone who couldn't be intimidated by circumstances, someone who had survived enough to fear nothing, someone who had lost enough to hold on to what really matters. In a few minutes, I'll tell you what your ribs were really hiding, and why they only opened now. But first, you need to understand something. This calling isn't optional. It's not a suggestion. It's not something you can negotiate with or postpone. Heaven has been patient, but tonight patience turns to urgency. The reason you're watching this video right now isn't coincidence, it's confirmation. The reason these words are hitting your soul like lightning isn't because I'm a good speaker. It's because they're your words. The words heaven has been trying to speak through you for decades. You've been carrying a message in your bones, a song in your spirit, a fire in your belly that the world needs to hear. But you've been waiting for permission, waiting for the right time, waiting for someone to believe in you. Tonight, God is done waiting. Tonight, He's issuing your divine commission. The restlessness you feel isn't anxiety, it's assignment. The dissatisfaction you carry isn't depression, it's destiny demanding to be birthed. The fire in your chest isn't fear. It's the flame of purpose that refuses to be extinguished. Your ribs haven't been protecting your heart from more pain. They've been protecting the world from the power you carry. But tonight, that protection is being removed. Tonight, what you've been hiding is about to be unleashed. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is, are you willing to finally answer the call that's been echoing in your bones for decades? You've learned about the enemy's attacks. You understand the warfare that's been waged against your destiny. But before we go any further, we need to address the most dangerous battlefield of all, the one staring back at you in the mirror. Because here's the brutal truth. The enemy's greatest victory wasn't the pain he inflicted on you. It was convincing you to inflict it on yourself. Every morning when you look in that mirror, you see everything wrong instead of everything chosen. You see the scars instead of the strength. You see the failures instead of the formation. The real battle isn't out there anymore. It's in here, in your mind, in your heart, in that voice that whispers, "You're too broken, too old, too flawed, too late." You keep asking God, "Why me?" But heaven's been asking, "Why not you?" While you've been cataloging your disqualifications, God's been counting your qualifications. While you've been rehearsing your failures, heaven's been rehearsing your victories. Listen to me, chosen one. The mirror has been lying to you for decades. That reflection you see tired, worn, scarred, that's not your true image. That's your survival suit. That's the armor you wore to get through the battles. But tonight, when your ribs collapse and your true form emerges, you'll see what heaven has always seen when it looks at you. In 1 Samuel 16:7, God tells us, "Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." You've been judging yourself by what people see, but God's been choosing you by what He sees. And what He sees is magnificent. You think your age disqualifies you. Moses was 80 when God gave him his greatest assignment. You think your past mistakes disqualify you. David was an adulterer and murderer, yet God called him a man after His own heart. You think your weakness disqualifies you. Paul had a thorn in his flesh, yet God used him to write half the New Testament. God doesn't use the qualified, He qualifies the used. And you, dear chosen one, have been in His qualifying school for decades. Every mistake taught you grace. Every weakness taught you dependence. Every failure taught you humility. Every scar taught you compassion. But here's what will shock you. What if everything you hated about yourself was heaven's way of marking what darkness fears? What if your sensitivity, the trait that made you feel too emotional, was actually your gift of discernment? What if your struggles with depression were actually your soul's way of feeling the pain of a broken world? What if your tendency to overthink was actually your gift of wisdom trying to emerge? The enemy convinced you that your differences were defects. But God designed your differences to be your distinctions. The very things that made you feel like an outsider were the things that marked you as chosen. You never fit in because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. In Jeremiah 1-5, God declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. You weren't an accident. You weren't a mistake. You were a divine design, carefully crafted for a specific purpose. Every struggle you've faced, every wound you've carried, every tear you've shed, it's all been weaving together to create something beautiful. But the mirror keeps showing you the tapestry from the wrong side. All you can see are the knots, the loose threads, the places where the pattern seems broken. But God sees it from the right side. He sees the masterpiece. He sees the beauty emerging from the brokenness. You've been at war with yourself for so long that you've forgotten what peace feels like. You've been your own worst enemy, your harshest critic, your most brutal judge. But tonight, that war ends. Tonight, you declare a ceasefire with your own soul. The voice in your head that says, "You're not good enough," that's not your voice. That's the echo of every person who didn't see your worth, every system that rejected you, every moment when you felt invisible. But that voice is about to be silenced by a voice from heaven that says, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made." In Romans 8:1, Paul declares, "There is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus." No condemnation, not from God, not from others, and not from yourself. The guilt you've carried, the shame you've worn like a second skin, the self-hatred that has poisoned your thoughts, it's all been a lie. You've been living under a false identity for so long that you've forgotten your true name. You've been calling yourself failure, disappointment, mistake, burden. But God calls you beloved, chosen, precious, His masterpiece. The mirror has been reflecting a lie, but tonight it's about to reflect the truth. Every time you've looked at yourself and felt disgust, God has looked at you and felt delight. Every time you've seen weakness, He's seen strength in the making. Every time you've seen ending, He's seen beginning. Every time you've seen curse, He's seen blessing wrapped in rough packaging. The battle in the mirror isn't about changing what you see, it's about changing how you see. It's about letting God's eyes become your eyes, God's thoughts become your thoughts, God's love become your love, even for yourself. You've been fighting the wrong enemy. The enemy isn't your reflection. The enemy is the lie that says your reflection is all you are. You are not your mistakes. You are not your age. You are not your scars. You are not your struggles. You are a chosen vessel, prepared through fire, refined by pressure, perfected by pain. If you've ever felt too flawed to be used, too broken to be blessed, too late to be chosen type, I'm still chosen anyway. Because the God who chose you before you were born isn't about to unchoose you now that you're becoming who He always knew you could be. The mirror is about to show you something it's never shown you before. Not just your reflection, but your resurrection. Not just who you've been, but who you're becoming. Not just your humanity, but your divinity breaking through. Are you ready to see yourself the way heaven sees you? Now that your ribs have collapsed and your true form is emerging, let me reveal something that will change how you see every word that comes out of your mouth. Your voice is no longer just sound. It's become a weapon. For decades, you've whispered when you should have roared. You've apologized when you should have declared. You've asked permission when you should have commanded. But tonight, something fundamental has shifted in your throat. Your tongue is no longer flesh, it's fire. The silence you survived wasn't punishment, it was training. Every time you bit your tongue instead of speaking truth, God was teaching you the weight of words. Every moment you held back what you really wanted to say, heaven was preparing you for the moment when your voice would carry the authority to change lives. You think you've been quiet all these years because you were weak, but chosen one, you were in a divine speech therapy program. God was preparing your vocal cords to carry frequencies that could heal the broken-hearted, deliver the captives, and set the prisoners free. In Isaiah 55:11, God declares, "So shall my word be that goes forth from my mouth. It shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish what I please, and it shall prosper in the thing for which I sent it." But here's what will shock you. That same power that rests in God's voice now rests in yours. Your words don't just communicate anymore. They create. They don't just express. They establish. They don't just describe reality. They decree it. Every time someone told you to be quiet, to tone it down, to stop being so intense, that was the enemy trying to silence what God was putting in your mouth. Every time you felt like your voice didn't matter, like no one was listening, like your words fell on deaf ears, that was hell's attempt to convince you that your tongue wasn't loaded with divine ammunition. But tonight, you're discovering the truth. You don't need a pulpit. You are the sermon. You don't need a platform. You are the message. You don't need a microphone. Your voice carries heaven's amplification. The reason people have always felt something different when you speak, even when you thought you were just having ordinary conversations, is because your words have been carrying anointing they couldn't identify. Your casual comments have been prophetic declarations. Your simple encouragements have been divine interventions. In Jeremiah 1-9, God tells the prophet, "Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth, and the Lord said to me, Behold, I have put my words in your mouth." That same touch that transformed Jeremiah's mouth has been working on yours. Every season of silence was God preparing your lips to carry his words. But here's where it gets powerful. Your story isn't just your testimony anymore. It's your sword. Every trial you've walked through, every mountain you've climbed, every valley you've survived, these aren't just memories, they're weapons in your mouth. When you tell someone about the night you wanted to give up but didn't, you're not just sharing, you're slaying the spirit of suicide in their life. When you speak about the day you chose to forgive, when everyone said you had the right to be bitter, you're not just testifying, you're breaking chains of unforgiveness in their heart. The enemy spent decades trying to silence you because he knew that when you finally opened your mouth, demons would flee. He knew that when you finally found your voice, strongholds would crumble. He knew that when you finally spoke with authority, kingdoms would shift. Your voice now carries the weight of every tear you've shed, every prayer you've prayed, every night you've wrestled with God and refused to let go. Your words are seasoned with suffering, salted with struggle, and sweetened with victory. In Revelation 12:11, the Bible reveals the power of testimony, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Your testimony isn't just your story, it's your strategy. It's not just your past, it's your power. Every time you open your mouth now, you're not just speaking from human experience, you're speaking from divine encounter. You're not just sharing information, you're releasing transformation. You're not just telling what happened, you're declaring what will happen. The reason you've felt such a fire in your throat lately, such an urgency to speak, such a burden to share, that's not anxiety. That's authority awakening. That's the sword in your breath demanding to be drawn. Your words will now cut through deception like a blade through butter. Your voice will pierce through darkness like light through shadow. Your testimony will demolish strongholds like David's stone through Goliath's skull. But here's what the enemy never saw coming. The same voice he tried to silence for decades is about to become the sound of his defeat. Every word you speak now carries the frequency of victory. Every story you tell now broadcasts the news of his failure. You are not a survivor. You are a sent one. And your story is the sword. The people who need to hear your voice are already being drawn to you. The lives that need to be changed by your words are already being positioned in your path. The miracles that need to be released through your testimony are already being prepared in heaven. But you must understand this. Your voice is no longer optional. It's essential. Your words are no longer suggestions, they're commands. Your testimony is no longer just your truth. It's the truth that will set captives free. Every time you speak now, you're not just talking, you're warring. You're not just communicating, you're conquering. You're not just sharing, you're shifting atmospheres. The silence is over. The season of preparation is complete. The sword in your breath is ready to be drawn. Are you ready to discover what happens when a chosen one finally opens their mouth and speaks with the authority of heaven? As your ribs continue to fold and your true form begins to emerge, something else is happening. Something so profound that it will change not just your life, but the lives of everyone you're destined to touch. Some of you are feeling it right now, a pressure on your shoulders, a weight that's not physical but spiritual. You might think it's fatigue, stress, or the burden of age. But chosen one, that's not exhaustion settling on you. That's the mantle of heaven descending upon your shoulders. What you're feeling is the same supernatural weight that fell on Elijah when God called him to confront kings. The same divine pressure that settled on Esther when she was positioned to save an entire nation. The same holy burden that Moses felt when God commanded him to lead millions out of bondage. Do you feel it? That heaviness that makes you want to bow your head. That's not defeat. That's divinity recognizing its dwelling place. In 1 Kings 19:19, when Elijah threw his mantle on Elisha, it wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was the transfer of divine authority, spiritual power, and prophetic responsibility. Tonight, heaven is throwing its mantle on you. And just like Elisha, you're about to discover that what seems like a burden is actually your greatest blessing. But here's what you need to understand. The mantle doesn't fall on the perfect. It falls on the available. Moses had a speech impediment. Esther was an orphan. Elijah struggled with depression. David was the youngest and least impressive of his brothers. God didn't choose them because they were ready. He chose them because they were willing. You've been thinking all these years that you missed your calling because you weren't good enough, smart enough, or strong enough. But God has been preparing you for this moment precisely through your weaknesses, your failures, your struggles. Every breakdown was breaking you into the shape that could carry this mantle. The weight you're feeling isn't punishment for your past, it's preparation for your future. Every burden you've carried has been strengthening your shoulders for this divine assignment. Every tear you've shed has been softening your heart for the compassion you'll need to minister to others. Every sleepless night has been preparing you for the intercession you'll carry for a generation that's lost its way. But listen carefully. This mantle comes with a warning. In 1 Samuel 16:14, we read that the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul. Why? Because he became more concerned with his reputation than his responsibility. He chose comfort over calling. He picked popularity over purpose. If you don't rise to receive what's being offered tonight, someone else will be assigned what was yours. God's plans will not be stopped by your hesitation. His purposes will not be delayed by your fear. The mantle that's falling on you right now will find another set of shoulders if you refuse to carry it. This is why you've felt so restless lately. This is why you can't sleep peacefully in your comfort zone anymore. This is why ordinary conversations feel empty and small talk makes your soul ache. The mantle has been hovering over you, waiting for you to say yes. You see, chosen one, you've been living beneath your spiritual pay grade for decades. You've been settling for survival when you were designed for supernatural impact. You've been hiding in the congregation when you were called to lead from the pulpit. You've been whispering prayers when you were meant to make prophetic declarations that shake kingdoms. The mantle carries three things: authority, responsibility, and accountability. The authority to speak and see mountains move. The responsibility to stand in the gap for others who can't stand for themselves. The accountability to use every gift, every experience, every scar as a tool for God's glory. Esther felt this same weight when Mordecai told her in Esther 4:14, "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." Such a time as this. Do you hear that? All your years of preparation, all your seasons of testing, all your moments of questioning, they've all been leading to such a time as this. This isn't just another evening in your life. This is your for such a time as this moment. The mantle doesn't make you famous, it makes you faithful. It doesn't make you wealthy, it makes you a weapon in God's hands. It doesn't make life easier. It makes your life matter in ways you never imagined. You've been asking God to use you, but you've been praying from a place of inadequacy. Tonight, the inadequacy ends. Tonight, the excuses die. Tonight, the mantle falls, and everything you thought you knew about your limitations gets shattered. Some of you are feeling heat on your shoulders right now. That's not fever, that's the fire of anointing. Some of you feel like you can barely hold your head up. That's not weakness. That's the weight of glory settling on someone who's finally ready to carry it. In 2 Timothy 1-6, Paul reminds us to stir up the gift of God which is in you. The gift has been in you all along, waiting for the mantle to activate it, waiting for divine authority to awaken what's been sleeping in your spirit. The enemy has been trying to convince you that you're too old, too broken, too ordinary to be used by God. But tonight, heaven is proving him wrong. Moses was 80 when he received his greatest assignment. Anna was 84 when she prophesied over baby Jesus. Abraham was 75 when God called him to father a nation. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. Your experience isn't your handicap, it's your equipment. Your pain isn't your disqualification, it's your preparation. Say, "I receive the mantle," if you feel the weight of something sacred landing on your shoulders. Say it if you're ready to stop hiding and start leading. Say it if you're done playing small and ready to step into the assignment that's been waiting for you. Because what happens next will determine not just your destiny, but the destiny of everyone you're called to reach. Are you ready to wear what heaven is placing on you? Chosen one. As we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I want you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, what you felt tonight wasn't imagination, it was recognition, your spirit recognizing the divine appointment that has been written in the stars since before time began. The weight in your chest, the stirring in your bones, the fire in your ribs, these are the fingerprints of God rewriting your story from the inside out. Second, the unusual formation that's appearing on you tonight isn't just for you. It's for everyone who will encounter the light that now radiates from your transformed life. You are becoming a living testament that God still moves, still heals, still calls ordinary people to extraordinary purposes. Third, the mantle that has fallen on your shoulders tonight comes with a promise. You will never walk alone again. The same God who collapsed your ribs to birth your true identity will provide everything you need to fulfill the assignment He's placed in your hands. But here's what I need you to understand with absolute certainty. You are not alone in this transformation. Right now, thousands of chosen ones around the world are feeling the same divine pressure, the same sacred weight, the same unusual formation taking shape within them. God is awakening an army, and you are part of it. There is a community here, brothers and sisters, who understand what you're experiencing because they're experiencing it too. We're here to pray with you, to encourage you, and to remind you that your calling is not a burden you carry alone. Let me ask you this. When you look in the mirror tomorrow morning, will you see someone who's been transformed by the hand of God? Or will you let doubt convince you that tonight was just another evening? The choice is yours, but choose wisely because your future depends on it. Before we part, I want to pray over you. Not just words, but a declaration of what heaven has already spoken over your life. Father God, I place my hands on the shoulders of every chosen one watching this right now. Lord, you have seen their tears, you have heard their cries, and you have felt their pain. But tonight, you have answered with transformation. Tonight, you have responded with resurrection. I pray that as they sleep, you complete the work you began in their bones. Let their dreams be filled with visions of their divine destiny. Let their rest be deep and peaceful, knowing that they are surrounded by your protection and covered by your love. God, bless them with supernatural strength for the journey ahead. Open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources that seem impossible. Connect them with the right people at the right time. Let favor follow them wherever they go. Heal every wound that the enemy used to try to disqualify them. Turn every scar into a source of strength. Transform every testimony of pain into a testimony of your power. Father, I pray that they wake up tomorrow knowing, not hoping, not wishing, but knowing that they are chosen, they are called, and they are completely loved by you. Let the unusual formation that appeared on them tonight be a constant reminder that you are doing something unprecedented in their lives. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray. Amen. Now, chosen one, I want you to do something for me. In the comments below, share one word that describes how you're feeling right now. Don't overthink it, just let your heart speak. And if you felt the presence of God during this message, type, I felt Him, so we can all celebrate together. If this message touched your soul, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not forgotten, they're not overlooked, and they're not alone. Someone in your life is waiting for this very word. Be the vessel that carries it to them. And if you're new to this community of chosen ones, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We're building something powerful here, a family of believers who understand that God still speaks, still moves, and still transforms lives in the most unexpected ways. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what God wanted to deposit in your spirit tonight. Thank you for being brave enough to believe that your story isn't over, it's just beginning. Remember, you are chosen, you are called, and you are completely loved. The unusual formation that appeared on you tonight is proof that God is not finished with you yet. Go in peace, walk in power, and step boldly into the destiny that has been waiting for you to finally say yes. Until we meet again, may the God of all grace continue to form His image in you, and may you never forget that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Chosen one, your time is now.